Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for Coffee and Conversation. Welcome back. Today we're joined by Gerontologist and Masterpiece Living's Senior Partnership Specialist, Cera Meintzer. But today we're asking her to speak to a different role in her life as a working mom with 3 kids. Cera and her husband have been working full-time from home in the midst of COVID-19, while also supporting 3 children, all different ages and grades, in their homeschooling. That's a lot to juggle, Cera. Thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Danielle. It's really nice to be here.
Cera, you are one of the most conscientious people I know, and you're also one of the most mindful people I know. And here you are, like so many other parents, all of a sudden an instant homeschool teacher trying to work from home and juggle it all. So tell us how that's gone for you.
Yeah, well, it's like just being thrown right into the fire, you know? I appreciate what you said about being mindful, Teresa. It's definitely been something that I have had to become uber aware of this last week. But I think as you ask that question, the first thing that comes to me is this sense of not being able to do it all, you know, feeling like I'm letting Masterpiece and my work down and feeling like I'm letting my kids down at the same time because I can't do both things from the space and the place that I really want to do them from. And that pressure comes from me. So I really am creating my own suffering in that sense, because while the kids have their own pressure that they're just kids, you know, Masterpiece has not been pressuring me at all. In fact, everyone's been quite understanding of the situation, especially because I'm not alone. So it's been a struggle inside of me to wrap myself around that in a mindful way and say, hey, you know, you can't be full-time both all at the same time. So how can you handle this?
It's such an interesting point, Cera. We all are dealing with the feelings of this pandemic and very normal feelings. But then when we judge ourselves and how we're handling it, now we're piling on more feelings on top of the feelings that come with this territory, right? And we're creating even more suffering, like pain piled on top of pain. So thanks for being so transparent and authentic and sharing the real world situation for you in your life.
Yeah. One thing that I've done, Teresa, in noticing that is to remind myself to practice self-compassion. That's a great skill, even when we're not in these situations. And the professor, researcher that I really like her work is Kristen Neff. She's out of UC Berkeley. So she talks about really, we don't get enough compassion in our lives and usually from the people that we need it from. So we have to give it to ourselves. So reminding myself when I'm feeling that, oh, I can't do it all, to say, you know, this is really hard right now and you're doing the best you can, and sort of that pat on the back for myself, and then a deep breath and really letting it go and moving on, you know, and it doesn't always happen that lovely.
You know, I have such admiration for you, Cera, because it's, you know, my life has not changed dramatically. It's just me, my spouse, and pets. So even though stuff has changed for us and it's stressful, you know, to have the kids and everything that you're going through, I think you're doing a bang-up job personally. And what you said about self-compassion and also self-care. And I have an example, and maybe you can expand on this a little bit. When this whole thing with COVID-19 started, my jaw was hurting really bad. And I was like, is my neck out of whack? Do I need a adjustment? Do I stretch? And it was for 3 days. I'm like, this is really bizarre. And then I'm watching the news and I'm feeling it tighten and tighten. And I was like, oh, that's a stress response that I've never had before and didn't know that my body responded that way. And as soon as I recognized it, it started to go away. So can you talk a little bit about how people might be able to not only feel the stress and become aware that they're stressing, but maybe some mindful tools to backtrack when that happens from a self-care perspective?
Yeah, absolutely, Danielle. Isn't that interesting how it went away when you noticed it? You gave it that attention, like, oh, that was your self-care. This needs a little love. This part of me needs a little love right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as humans, we have a tendency to pull in and to tighten and to grip our muscles. If you practice yoga, you'll know we do this gripping thing, and gripping in some circumstances is a good positive thing, but I know for myself, my jaw is definitely where I hold it also. So, a few things that we've done here in our home. First of all, mindfulness. If you have an established practice, these are the times when you bring it in the most and you start to, be a heavy hitter with it. And really, I try to carve myself 5 minutes 3 times a day where I can walk away and everyone in my house knows mom's going to meditate. Don't mess with her. I like Insight Timer. That's the app that I prefer to use. So I'll do a guided meditation, or I will just do the timer, or I'll take it on a walk with me and do a walking meditation. I'm lucky and privileged enough to have a great path right outside my door. So I'll get the dog and do that. So I think really it's never too late to start that. So if you're not already in that practice, just start it. And just simply observing your breath is a great way to start that. Other than that, I'd say, we've been taking do not disturb me time. So it's my husband's time for that. It's my time for that. Setting really firm boundaries with the kids. Like right now, I love you and I can't help you at this moment. So ask your sister, or be patient and wait. Take some belly breaths. That's the language we use with them. And, just I think really affirming, we love you. This is hard for all of us. And we're gonna keep working on it. The other thing I want to add too is eating well. Just it's hard if the grocery stores are empty, but continuing to try to eat. We got back on our kombucha making. We had taken a pause from that, but we're making kombucha again. And I was successful at fermenting some vegetables.
Wow.
So that's been a kind of fun experiment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Probably should be fermenting some grapes too.
Yes, that is true. I haven't ventured there yet, but you never know what'll happen.
So Cera, you talk your role, and that's what we were looking for. But today probably more than ever, I see, particularly with single moms, but where women have such a incredibly major role in families, and they strap it on, and but there's an element of needing control. So I wonder, have you been able to have anything, either a substantive conversation about this, or it just has happened along the way, where the division of labor, with that big guy you live with, who I like so much, as well as the little people there with you, have perhaps assumed roles that maybe they didn't have before?
Yeah, great question, Roger. So it's funny. Before this happened, this COVID-19, Mike, my husband, and I had just had a conversation about the division of labor, because I was feeling like I had too much of it. And I am a doer. Like, I don't sit down and relax well. That's just not who I am. I like to check things off a list and cross them off. So we had created a new plan to divide the labor a little more evenly, and he was on board with it. And then this all happened. And so what's happened since then is that it's just kind of happened naturally. We are aware of each other. It's like he knows when I'm looking like I've had enough and need to walk away, and I know the same about him. So he's been great about making sure that he makes some of the meals and offering, like, you've made breakfast the last few days, why don't you let me do it? And as far as the kids go, Solana, who's my 13-year-old, has really stepped up to the plate. And when she finishes her school, she'll help the younger kids make sure that they're getting their stuff done, so that I can take a pause and go work on something else that's masterpiece related, or something else I need to do. So yeah, it's been good for us, actually. It's really it's like we're in a petri dish right now. We're just testing stuff out.
Cera, let's talk for a minute about the conscientious nature of your personality. And I think many people are highly conscientious and want to do a good job at work and want to do a good job for the family. And I know that sometimes those are in conflict. When you feel like you're doing a good job for one, you're not doing a good job. It's like an inverse relationship. That's how so many moms perceive it anyway. What changes have you made? Because granted, these are very unusual times. Have you made any changes with your expectations of yourself?
Yes, I have. It took me a couple days, which I guess is not a real long time in perspective, but it took me a couple days to just not have a baseline worry, like, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I not doing? And then I decided that during the times when I need to be helping a child, I'm going to, if I don't obviously have a work meeting and I'm just doing tasks, that I can change my schedule and I can be flexible with that time. So I'm going to help them. And then when they do not need my help, I'm going to work on what I can work on, no matter when that is, right? It might be in the evening. It might be really early in the morning. So I've just become more flexible, just kind of go with the flow. Really, like you spoke about control, Roger. Yeah, letting some of that go and knowing that it's okay. It's okay. I think that that's working for me because there's less influences right now. I don't have to get in a car and drive anywhere. I don't have to be quite so tight about time. There's fewer things to get done, even though there's more at the same time. But it's all in one space. So really thinking about all that in my head and kind of trying to organize it in a different way.
So that is a really good point because I'm a planner and I know from like 5:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, I've got everything that I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this now. And, we came to work on Monday and all of that was thrown out the window. So it was like, okay, this is an opportunity for cognitive flexibility. I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm, as I said, don't have kids. You being in the thick of it is just, I again can't stress enough how much I admire that. And we happen to be Insight Timer buddies, so sometimes I can be like, it was great meditating with you.
Yes, I see you on there.
Now, speaking of meditation, a lot of people are kind of forced into self-reflection when they're stuck inside because they're caught alone with their thoughts. And knowing you and knowing how mindful you are, I wanted your take on this. I was listening on Insight Timer. Mark Lesser was an executive coach, or he is an executive coach and a Zen trainer. And he asked at the end of one of his sessions, what is the impossible request your life is asking of you? And I know you ask yourself stuff like this. So have you had some time to do that self-reflection yet?
Yeah, I have a question that I've been playing with the last week or so, and I'm still working on some reflective time to really put an answer to it. But my question is, when this is over and we're back to a quote unquote normal life, how do I want to have shown up? When I'm thinking back about the time and the actions and reflecting on how I was and the things that I did and said and my behaviors, what do I want those to look like? And what's really funny is the first thing that comes to me is like, I should really learn how to play guitar. That's the thing I should add to my list. But that's not really what I mean. It's more that internal dialogue and the actions that I would take. So that's my impossible question that I'm still working on the answer to.
I think that would be an excellent thing to say to the kids also, that reminding them that this is a historic time. They will be reading about this and telling in history books, and they will be telling their children and grandchildren about this time because it is quite unusual. And looking back, each one of them, your kids, did I add to the problem, or was I part of the solution? And am I proud of how I was, even as a child? I think that this is a time for them to reflect on that. So that's another thing you can dump on them to think about.
I love that. That could be like their social studies for the time. Learning self-reflection at the same time as well. Yeah. I have to say that I know everyone, none of us love our kids all the time, or we love them, but we're not always happy with their choices all the time. But I have to say, I have some pretty awesome kids, and they are really, I think, pretty aware of how this has affected Mike and I, and just being kinder to everyone, to themselves, to each other. And I had thought I might have a conversation with them about kindness. Like, we're all here, we're in this together, and we're stuck in this environment, and we don't have ways to escape besides a walk outside. And I thought I'd like to have a conversation with them, but I haven't had to, which has been amazing. And it's only week 1, so it might still be coming, but they've been great so far.
What great advice for all of us, even as a country and maybe as a species.
Yes.
For now and for after, and that would be the having listened to our better angels and coming out of this better people. So yeah, very nice.
Absolutely. Kindness is always cool.
That just didn't happen, Cera. There's a core there that they experienced in their whole lives with you. But again, even if it hadn't, I think that these times, the gravity of these times, I think will be sinking those who didn't even have the benefit of being raised in your household.
Yeah, this is a test. This is a time of test for us all.
So I know at the end of each episode, we typically do kind of a takeaway, and you gave us a lot of great tips. Maybe we can just do a quick, for the people listening, practicing self-care and self-compassion. And you mentioned even communicating and coming up with a schedule, like, do not disturb, I need 5 minutes here, I love you, but I can't address it now, and just open dialogue. What are some other takeaways we want to make sure we leave with people?
I would add a couple things that I don't think I've said yet. And one of those is to make sure that you take some time to play and have fun. Because we don't have separate environments right now for the different kind of compartments of our lives, you have to be intentional about working that in. So play, have some fun, definitely get outside if you can. I mean, even if you have a balcony or a little piece of something to sit on, get some fresh air coming towards you. I would advise that. And the other thing I would add is, for those of you who practice mindfulness or are about to start practicing it, now more than ever is the time to not live in the future. Just live right now in the present moment that you have to live in.
Profound thoughts. We never expected anything but that from you, Cera. That's why we're so pleased that you were able to join us, and it's maybe it gave you a break too. And where are you?
Yes, I am actually in my 2 younger children share a bedroom, and I am on the floor in their bedroom right now because there's a door on this room and it's quiet. So yes, it did give me an escape. It's like, okay, Mike's turn to be the schooler for right now, and I'm gonna go have a conversation. Well, so thank you for that.
Well, as usual, you were very generous with us, and we thank you. And I think there's a lot of people out there, mothers out there, fathers too, will take your messages to heart. I hope they do, because I think they can be very helpful. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, we hope this podcast is a source of inspiration. If you're ready to dive deeper into these concepts and really apply them in your life, join us over at Master Life. You'll have a personalized experience and lots of support to create your own long, bright future. mymasterlife.com.
You've been listening to Dr. Roger and Friends, The Bright Side of Longevity. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.